Good morning. This is Mrs. Perry, 4th grade at Wakefield. Hi, everybody. So today I am here to talk with you all about fractions. And we're going to begin with just a quick review. Remember, fractions are an amount that is less than 1. So something that is less than a whole number, less than a whole amount, like 3/4. We have the whole amount, but there's one piece missing. That represents a fraction. Also, a quick review on the parts of a fraction. So again, here's that same fraction, 3/4. This number at the top, the 3, that's called our numerator, and that represents the part. Our number at the bottom, our 4, that's our denominator, and that represents the whole amount, how many pieces we would have to make one whole. So we have 3 out of 4 pieces would represent that fraction, that whole amount. I also want to do a quick reminder, a refresher about mixed numbers. So mixed numbers are a whole number and a fraction, like you see here, 5 and 2/3. So we have, if these are pizzas, we have 5 pizzas, but the 6th pizza has 1 piece missing. So 5 and 2/3. And equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions, that kind of sounds like equal, and that's exactly what it means. Those are fractions that represent the same or equal amounts, like 2/3 and 4/6. And the way that we can check that to see if those are equal amounts, we can do a tape diagram. So here's my 2/3, here's my 4/6, and we can see that those represent equal amounts. So today specifically, we're going to talk about subtracting fractions, and we're going to look at mixed numbers minus fractions. So we have 3 and 2/6 minus 5/6. We're going to look at this in 2 ways because we know that there's always multiple options for solving a math problem. So we're going to look at 2 ways to solve this mixed number minus a fraction. So let's go over here to the whiteboard. We have 3 and 2/6 minus 5/6. This is our mixed number. 3 and 2/6 minus 5/6. The first thing that we need to recognize is that we do have like denominators. That's important. When we're adding and subtracting fractions, if we don't have like denominators, we have to make them like. Since these are already like denominators, they're part of the same fraction family, we don't have to do anything to change those fractions. So let's look at this. My whole number, 3, minus basically 0. There's no whole number here. But if we look at our fractions, at our numerators, remember that part on the top is called the numerator, we have 2 minus 5. Can we start with 2 and take 5 away? We can't do that. So we have to figure out how we can take away this 5/6 from our fraction that's 2/6. The first strategy that we're going to look at is using a number line. So we're going to create our number line. And my fraction is 3 and 2/6, a mixed number. So I know I have more than 3. So I need to have more than 3 represented on my number line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are my whole numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. And because my fractions are sixths, each whole number has to be partitioned into 6 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whole number 1 is represented by the fraction 6/6. Same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've created my number line and I've partitioned each whole number into 6 pieces. So now let's represent this equation on our number line. I'm going to start with 3, and and 2/6. Here's 1/6 and 2/6. So I'm going to mark that. This is my mixed number, 3 and 2/6. Now I need to subtract 5/6. Remember, each line on here represents 1/6. I'm going to subtract 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That brings me here. This is my answer. So I need to look at my number line and determine what the solution is to this equation. What is the difference? That's the solution when we subtract. What is the difference from 3 and 2/6 minus 5/6? So let's count. We're at 1, 2 as our whole number, and 1, 2, 3. And ask yourself, remember, what does each one of these lines represent? 1/6. So 1, 2, 3/6. So using a number line, we discovered our solution, 2 and 3/6. That's subtracting a fraction from a mixed number on a number line. Let's look at this one more way. Let me remove this, toss that aside. Let's look at that exact same equation. 3 and 2/6 minus 5/6. But this time we're going to look at this with more of a standard algorithm, without drawing a picture, without using a number line. We're back to that same dilemma. Can I take 5 away from 2? Well, if we're talking about whole numbers, we would have to decompose. We would have to take something and rename it, regroup it, in order to make enough. That same strategy applies to mixed numbers. So I'm going to decompose my whole number. I need to borrow from it. I need to decompose it and rename part of it as a fraction. So I'm going to say 3 is the same as 2 plus 1. I decompose that whole number so that I can create a fraction big enough to subtract 5 from. Now, I need to rename my whole number 1. I need to rename it to match this fraction family. So this whole number 1 is the same as 6/6. If you remember in the beginning, I told you, your numerator represents the part that you have. Your denominator represents the whole amount. If I have the whole amount, that means I have whole number 1. So now this whole number 3 is going to really be 2, and the 1 that I took away became 6/6. So my original mixed number is now 2 and 6/6 plus the 2/6 that I had to begin with. So we now have taken this mixed number and we've renamed it 2 and 8/6. These are equivalent. They are equal. They are the same amount. I haven't taken anything away. I haven't changed the amount. I've just renamed it. I've taken from my whole number and I've renamed it as a fraction. So I'm going to rewrite this equation. 2 and 8/6 minus 5/6. Now we have numerators that we can actually subtract. I can take 5 away from 8. So let's start with our whole number. 2 minus 0, whole number 2. Our numerators, because we have like denominators, they don't change. Our numerators, 8 minus 5, gives me 3/6. That is the difference. That is the amount. 3 and 2/6 minus 5/6 is 2 and 3/6. The exact same solution that we found on our number line. So two different ways to solve the same equation. One by using a picture to help you, and one by using standard algorithm with renaming the whole number. I hope this helps you out. Keep working with those fractions. I miss you all. Bye, everybody.